Shall I introduce you, Genevieve?
Okay, sure.
Yes. So
this is nice and casual.
Yes, it is totally casual. And I'm excited you all are here. And like I said, we'll have some other people joining us, but I'm always so excited when Genevieve comes and joins us. Number one, because she's just amazing and fabulous. She is a super fun person and somebody I really, really appreciate. I totally appreciate her story. I love what she has to share. And she's doing such critical work around finding your purpose based on her own experience of finding her purpose and writing this amazing book, Purpose, Passion, and Pajamas, which you can absolutely get on Amazon and is definitely worth the read and worth your time. So Genevieve has had this amazing career, and I'm going to let her tell you her own story about how she made her own jump. I'm guessing it was a jump. It might have been a slide into her purpose in providing pajamas through her nonprofit Pajama Project to children in shelters, and the amazing impact that she has made. So Genevieve, I'm so delighted you're here always. I cannot wait to hear your wonderful presentation.
Oh, thank you, Gina. And hi, Mary. Mary's joined us. So as Gina said, I made a jump, and I wanted to talk a little bit about a jump and a slide. I teach both now because I know what it's like to jump, and I know that it's right for some people. Some of us have that gene. I don't know where we got it, but some of us have a slide gene. So I do want to talk about both, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So for all of us, purpose is, if you're not living your purpose, you're not sure what it is, or you know exactly what it is, but there are reasons why you're not embracing it totally. It comes to you because your heart knows you need to make a change. You know, you feel compelled to do something. There's something either nagging at you, something you've put on the back burner, or something that scares you, that you think isn't possible for you to either make a living doing or even welcome into your life without upsetting the life you have and the people that you're responsible to. So it's living a more fulfilling life is taking time to give yourself a gift and investing in yourself, because I think you would agree that when you feel joy, everyone in the world feels joy, because we know when we're around somebody who is not feeling great about their life, and it's very contagious, just like an exhilarated feeling when you are living your purpose, even as a slide. And I will get into that. So the first step is to change your life, to make whatever you've put in the back burner a priority, even in a small way. So if you're not sure you have what it takes to bring your purpose into your life, I want you to ask yourself, if this is the next 30 years of your life, is this enough? And some people call it the rocking chair test. What you can imagine when you are 90, 95, sitting in a rocking chair, maybe on your porch or in your den, and you're reviewing your life. And if you think about it now as a future, and you ask yourself that question, it makes a difference in how you might lead your life tomorrow. So think about that, because that's a question that came to me, which I'll go over. So my story is a little story. It involves little people, little children. I always wanted to be Mary Tyler Moore growing up, though. I wanted a corporate career, and I was raised by Italian parents, very traditional. My father came off the boat. His father brought him to America to live the American dream. He wanted to have a family here and have them go to college. But I think, secretively, he really wanted the girls, or two of us, I'm the oldest, to get married and have grandchildren. He wanted that for his sons too, but he really wanted that for us girls. But my sister did that before me, and I didn't hear that in my heart. I heard, or in my head, I should say, I heard corporate ladder climber, workaholic, work in a big city, leave the nest and get your own place. And that's what I was doing. I was excited, but my parents didn't really understand that. They didn't know why I was in my 30s. I didn't have any interest in getting married or having a traditional family. I was traveling, I was working all day and night, they hardly saw me. And of course, I wasn't living at home. I bought a place outside of the house, which again is a very traditional no-no in an Italian family before you're married. So I bucked the system, I guess you can say. And I, for 12 years, climbed that corporate ladder in New York City until one day, quietly, which was rare that I was quiet in my apartment alone. I was usually, doing something with somebody. I heard that voice in me that asked the question I asked you to ask yourself. And the question in me I heard was, if this is the next 30 years of your life, is this enough? And I was shocked. And I almost immediately knew the answer was no, it's not enough, because where am I going to be with this life a few years from now? Never mind 30. I thought I'm still going to be working crazy hours. I'm probably still going to be alone. How much longer do I want to live a fast life? How many more things can I buy? And I'm not a saver. So the money came in, the money went out. And I went places and I bought things. So I thought, this is a moment for me to really think things through. And I did over that whole day and the next couple of days. And I realized I wanted to find a way to bring children into my life, because I wasn't married. So having kids and all of that wasn't really going to happen for me. But I had all of a sudden that thought, bring children into your life. So I had recently seen an article, we all see them, right? And hear about them on the news, these children who are treated so badly by people who are supposed to take care of them. And the police and social workers went to get the child and pull the child out of that home, bring that child to an emergency shelter. So I called police and I said, where do you bring children like this? Where are these emergency shelters? And they gave me the name of a few. And I called and I asked if I could come and visit with them after work, because I was working all day, but I had the evenings. And they said, you can come and maybe bring some storybooks and read to the children at night. And I thought that was perfect. So I bought a whole bunch of storybooks. I showed up in my business suit, and the first shelter, they led me to this room, which was really very, very bare. There weren't any chairs for an adult. And so I sat on the floor in my suit and I'm waiting, and I see little faces at the door, and a staff person brought in about a dozen children. They didn't give me any information. I could just tell that the children were afraid and panicked and just been brought in within that day. I could tell because their clothes were fitting well and they were soiled, and they were just sort of still stunned, not knowing where they were, what's going to happen to them. So they sat down on the floor with me and I read story after story in silence. They were silent. They just stared at me, and I didn't know what I could do to ease their fears because I could feel their anxiety. So this happened, the same thing, in several different shelters, several different nights. One night I got up to see where they were taking the children to go to sleep at night. I just wanted to know a little bit more. So I followed. And when I saw the room, it was very similar to most of the rooms I'd read in, very bare, a couple of futons, a couple of single beds, couch, and a couple of children together on one surface in the same clothes they'd been wearing. And some of them were crying. And I was just frozen. And I had all these memories of my mom at my bedside and at my sister's bedside, and I'm sure at my brother's bedside in the room next door. And the laughter and the love and the giggling and the milk and cookies and begging for one more story, and tucking us in and giving us a kiss. And we were in pajamas, of course. That was a big deal. And here I am staring, and that's what stood out to me. They're still in their clothes that don't fit. They're still in their clothes that are soiled. How are they going to fall asleep? Some of them were already crying. And the first thing I said as they were sort of nudging me, I guess I was really frozen staring at these children in this scene, I turned and I asked the staff person, can I bring pajamas next week? And she said, that'd be lovely because we do the best we can, but nobody thinks of pajamas to volunteers to bring them. So all week, all I could do was think about how many children would be there, how many pajamas should I get, what sizes. So I got so many, so many pajamas. I wouldn't leave any of the children out. And I showed up. And after I read stories that night to the children, were always different children, I started handing them out. And while most of the children took their pajamas quietly and staff person brought them to that room to sleep, one little girl was so afraid of me, she refused to take them. She didn't want to stand too close to me. She just kept shaking her head. No, no, no. I tried to gently coax her. She didn't want them. So when the rest of the children and the staff had left the room and one staff was left with her, I knelt down and I gently explained, you can keep these. Look, they're pink and you have pink in your shirt and I know they'll fit you. And if you want to touch them, they're so soft. And it took her a minute or two and she leaned in and she said, what are pajamas? And in that moment, everything that I had ever wanted just disappeared. And all I wanted was to take her home and give her a hug. Wasn't allowed to do that, but bring pajamas to these children who I believed there were more than just her who wouldn't know what pajamas were. And I found myself explaining to this little girl as best I could without crying so she wouldn't think she did something wrong, what pajamas are. And they put them on her in another room, but she peered back in where I was alone now. And she gave me this little smile and that was it. That was it. I couldn't think of anything else. So over the next months, I thought of nothing else. And I did everything I could to pay the mortgage with the job, but my enthusiasm waned. And it turned into a big jump about a year later, a huge jump because I just was obsessed. I never thought of the word purpose. No one ever asked me. I don't think we ask enough of these high school and college kids. Think about what your purpose is. We have a purpose. I didn't know we all have a purpose. We all don't have to jump into it. But as I said before, I think I have that gene. So I went from full-time to part-time, couldn't manage that either. And I finally jumped. Now in that year or so, a lot of things, a lot of people came into my life that most of them didn't know anything I was doing. I kept it to myself because I didn't know how to explain. I might leave my job with a mortgage and bills to give pajamas to kids. But I did trust one guy that I met that I really liked, who thought I would be part of a 2-income family. And I said, I think I'm going to be leaving my job and find a way to give pajamas to these children I met. And he said, go for it. So I did. I took that big jump. I knew I was going to do it anyway, but I wanted to see if he had a good enough reason to convince me not to. And Pajama Program was born. And I learned what a nonprofit is. I learned you can make a living, some kind of a living working nonprofit. And we celebrated 21 years this year with 7 million pajamas to children across the US, 42 chapters across the US. And as founder and executive director, it was the most meaningful career I could have ever imagined. Everything changed in my life. And 2 years ago, after just 20 years of being executive director, I passed the baton because I wanted to use the rest of my time to help people find their purpose and write my book so people knew it might not be easy, but there are lessons learned and the payoff is incredible, even if it's not in big dollars. So I wanted to talk about jump and slide because I have been teaching both the jump and the slide since the pandemic, especially. And I don't know where you ladies are in your purpose journey, but I hope at the end, if there's something you want to contribute or ask or say, that you will feel free to do so, because I'm telling you, I made tons of mistakes. And my number one mistake was I didn't tell anybody for a very long time. So I didn't get the support that I really could have used earlier. So that's my little story that turned into a big jump. So I believe living your purpose has very little to do with shoulds, obligations, and expectations, and everything to do with your heart, what you choose to do with your life. As I said before, it affects everyone. It doesn't just bring you joy, it's contagious to everyone in your life. And only you can bring it into your life. So I teach a lot with the acronym PAJAMA or pajamas. So the P here is the possibilities. Now, narrowing it down to 2, I teach this I've written it out in my blog, which is on GenevievePiturro.com. It's a 90-minute exercise. I'll go through it briefly here, but you can always see the details if you'd like. So the first thing is to narrow down what your purpose is, or a couple of things that might be your purpose, and then is it a jump or a slide? So basically, you need 90 minutes of uninterrupted time. You need pad and pen, pencil, not a computer. Don't type it up because there's power in handwritten notes on paper. There's something magical about it. So I ask you to take the 90 minutes. You can have wine, you can have a cup of tea, you can have a slice of pizza, you can have anything you want, as long as you're alone. Play music or not. And write down 10 to 20 things you love to do without thinking about making money at it. And the exercise in detail will take you through feeling each emotion when you look at the word and you feel how it makes you feel. And you will get down in 90 minutes to 1, 2, or maybe 3. And those are the top purposeful things that fill your life, that you love to do. And again, don't worry about if it's, you want to be a pop singer, you want to be Adele. Don't worry if you want to be, open a doggy daycare. Doesn't matter what you're doing now. It doesn't matter what you really want to do secretly, because there's a place and a way to bring it both into your life. And it's a jump or a slide. And sometimes one leads into the other. So this is a start of assessing a jump or a slide. How critical is your situation? Are you miserable? Are you okay? Are you just missing something that you know you want to bring into your life? These are important questions to think about, because a jump changes everything. Some are prepared for that. Some want that, even if they're not prepared, like me. What's your time frame? Is something happening that is, do you know you might lose your job? Do you know the company is closing? Do you know you can't stand another day? And it's your time to either find another job or make your purpose your life and your career. Is there a cost to making a change? Do you need to do something that's going to be a financial expense if you're going to take a jump, even if you're going to take the slide? How would living with your purpose change your life? That's probably the most important thing, because if it's going to change it just a tiny, tiny bit, it'll be different than if you say, it would make my heart sing. And one thing to think about is, who else is involved? This is my new husband. He does not drink, but I put it there because sometimes my switch to delivering pajamas to kids would feel like it made him drink. So it's, I didn't think much about how it would affect him. It affected him a lot. Thank God we're together 22 years. But it is something to think about. And like I said, in my book and whenever I teach, I say that is something to consider. Who's involved personally in your life that you need to get on board or listen to the questions and the concerns, and also in your business. How is it going to affect people? And you need to think it through and maybe find a confidant. Do you want this as your new full-time job? Can you see this as what you're doing 9 to 5, or actually when it's your purpose, it's 9 to 8:59, 24 hours later, it becomes your life? Or do you see it honestly as something on the side? And both are great as long as it's part of your life. Again, financial considerations are something to think about. And how soon do you want to make the change? So to adjust, do you need more research or education for either a slide, to do this a little bit, an hour a week, or to do it full time? Do you have your supporters who understand how important this is and might want to tell them how it might change things? I keep bringing up financial because I made a mess of mine and I'm honest with that and telling people and writing about it, but I got things back on track late, but thank goodness did. Managing your time. That's something that we're all trying to figure out now. So it's part of health and wellness for all of us. And sometimes your life is a big part of wellness, what makes you feel good. There's always a period of overlap, emotionally and practically. There's always a time when the two are either fighting for your attention or that you have to juggle two things. How will your lifestyle change? Both, if it's just an hour a week or if you change everything. Reorganizing your responsibilities has to be thought about, and someone's disappointment, if that's going to be the case. So make your decision. A jump is pretty much what you can imagine. It's quitting, or it's, if you don't have a current job, it's saying, I'm going to do this and going full force to make it a career, make it full time, and just immerse yourself into it. A slide can be anywhere from spending 1 hour a week immersed in that. So if you want to be open a doggy daycare, you can start to visit the shelters if you haven't already, the dog shelters. You can talk to people on LinkedIn. People will connect. You can get an idea of what their life is like and what steps you might need to make. Bringing something in, even if you wanted to be Adele, you wanted to be a singer, you can take a couple of lessons. You can join a singing group. Anything that slides your purpose into your life for 1 hour a week makes a world of difference. It's going to feel like you are breathing freely when you bring whatever has been on that back burner, waiting for the kids to go to college, waiting for your retirement, waiting for the fear to go away, which let me tell you, doesn't, waiting for the pandemic to iron itself out so there's some kind of a new normal. If you're waiting and it's on the back burner, it's the weight's going to be lifted and you're going to feel so good that you're giving yourself even 1 hour a week immersed in the topic. So you'll feel great that you've made a decision, but you might feel a little trepidation too. And I certainly did. So there's a lot to think about when it's something so new and so different, and when it doesn't involve just you, which a lot of times it doesn't involve just you. A lot of times we don't know where to start, but there's always reading. There are always people to learn from. There are always places to visit, and it's not as hard as you think to slide that purpose into your life and get a feeling of it in your life, not just part of what you want, your dream, but actually in your life. So whichever you choose, the slide or the jump, just set the goals, confirm support. You'll need support, emotional, and if you need financial, then you need to figure that part out. Action steps on a timeline, which I didn't do at all. So you just list what you think works. And one thing I didn't do that will definitely make things smoother is I didn't ask for help. So a lot of these things, the financial plan, the support, the goals, the action steps, a lot of it would have come to me faster if I had asked for support, if I had gone to a lawyer first, if I had gone to a CPA, if I had talked to people who are in the nonprofit world, if I talked to more people in the shelters and asked them direct questions. But I was afraid, and I talk so much about the human connection when I speak to audiences, how that saved me and how that is so valuable to and for all of us to do. So I urge you, as soon as you know you want to bring your purpose in some way, slide or jump, start talking to people who can help. People want to help. And I didn't learn that until later. I was embarrassed to ask. Limit the naysayers. I went to a friend of mine who was also a career girl early on, and I sort of said, this is what I'm thinking. I'm losing my enthusiasm for my job. And I know I've put 12 years in and all of this, but I met this little girl and I want to give pajamas to these kids because I can't imagine how lonely and afraid they feel. And I honestly and truly expected her to say, how nice. Oh, can I help? And she did the opposite. She did the opposite. She just said, why would you do that? Couldn't you do that on a Saturday? Do you think you're really making a difference in their lives? How are you going to pay your bills? And it was like I was being, shot down with every question. And it took me a while to get my confidence back. And I started to confide in some more people that I hoped had my back, and they did. The man I married who said, go for it. My mom who said, I don't know how you're going to do it, but I believe you will. Even my dad who was nervous for me. I knew they had my back, and I realized, and I write about this, that's who you have to get in your corner first. You have to get those people that support you first, that you know will support you, even if they don't know how you're going to do it. Because those backseat drivers and those naysayers, they can do a lot of damage if you're not covered. Keep your eye on the finish line. Know that there is that exhalation. You will be so excited that day. And it's really important to celebrate all the steps in getting there. Even if you think, oh, I'm just getting to know how animals, get to a shelter. I don't need to celebrate. Yes, you do. Celebrate. It's so important to know what your purpose is, to discover it. It's so important to bring it into your life in a small or big way, because that's what changes you, and that's what changes our relationship to each other. Sharing that joy, asking questions, encouraging other people who see, oh, you're taking a change, you're taking a chance, you're bringing something into your life, you're changing everything from being, an accountant to being someone who wants to sing, or an accountant who sings. And both are equally valuable to your self-esteem and to the way you live and to the way you are an instructor for other people to learn from. So celebrate everything large and small along the way, making a contact, having a great day, feeling so high because you just finished a singing lesson and you weren't the worst that the teacher heard. And embrace whatever your passion is and make sure you are in it 100%. My husband tells me I remind him of Lucille Ball because of all my silly antics and mistakes and things like that. And you know what? I'm okay with that. I'm okay. I will take that. I followed Mary Tyler Moore's route in her show, Mary Richards, and I always appreciate that. I wanted to be a corporate ladder climber because she was my role model on TV. And I own that. I love that. Doesn't matter if it took me those 12 years to find out that my purpose was very different. And I have a shoe thing. I have tons of shoes and I post them on social media. And I would never talk about that. So I could name so many more than 3, and I'm sure you could do the same, that there's so many parts of you that you don't let out. But when you find your passion and you slide it or you jump into it, let yourself be part of that. Embrace it 100%. So think of the possibilities. Think of what you love to do, narrow it down. Assess the situation that you are in so you can decide, are you looking at a jump or a slide? Adjust your life so you know what you need to prepare for the jump or the slide. Again, sometimes a slide turns into a jump, and maybe that's the way you'll get to a jump. Make a decision that you're going to do this, and if it's going to be a slide or a jump, and then think about arriving safely. And when fear gets in your way, and believe me, it will, you'll think of a million reasons why you can't do it. You'll be afraid, you might not sleep, all those things and more and worse happen to me. Just ask yourself, if this is the next 30 years of my life, do I want to live it without my purpose? So that's my those are some of my life lessons that I wanted to share. And I would love to hear from any of you who are living your purpose, who want to, who have questions or just want to share.